Last week, something big happened, but you may have not noticed as it got barely any media coverage. Netherwallop UK? Gone. Clean off the map. Why this happened? Well, I have my theories, but worst case scenario, if God's trying to wipe out the world's worst towns, then I am next. I went on kind of a panic-induced shopping spree, buying everything and anything I could think of. Did I really need 2 PS3s? It doesn't matter, I'm gonna die! Unfortunately, I am poor and ran out of money by minute 20. Around the same time, my first package arrived. Not at my doorstep, but strangely enough, down my laundry chute. Inside rested a UK copy of the Nintendo DS's Children of Mana. And in that moment, something awakened inside of me.
Netherwallop?
Box art. This is the 3rd time I've used this intro format. Can you tell I'm starting to break down? We've talked good box art, we've talked bad box art. But what about Fraternal Twins? I've always found it fascinating how companies choose to brand products. The public image of a video game used to be paramount. Magazine ads, commercials, previews at expos, these were all extremely important to the success of a title. Not to say they aren't important now, but back then it was all we had to go on. And I'd argue picking the correct piece of cover art was right up there. A great box art is enough to sell it on the shelf, on the spot. Sometimes, though, it may be best to use a different piece of art in different regions of the world. Culture does indeed exist, after all. That's how we got these two things in the same year. Almost every Kirby game in history has seen minor changes to the cover art in the US. In Japan, Kirby's a happy-go-lucky little fella. You know, the kind of guy you want to sit down and have a nice dinner with. Well, but in North America, he's pissed. Like a pit bull dead set on an unattended child. I've always thought this is funny because I don't think there's a single thing you could do to make Kirby even remotely threatening. You know, other than imply that his stomach is an endless void and anything or anybody that goes inside will be stuck in there forever. Crash Bandicoot did more or less the same thing, repressing the anime eyes for our virgin American audience. This makes sense, but having grown up with this, it's kind of strange to think about him in any other way, despite them really trying to get me to do that. Oh, God. What the deuce? Apparently, America can't handle cartoon characters and definitely prefer hyper-realistic yet anatomically impossible old men. Because I can believe these are the same person. For the longest time, Sonic the Hedgehog was in a similar boat. The mohawk-looking quills were unique in the sense that it wasn't how he was initially designed. Instead, being Sega of America's attempt to coolify a fairly cute and rounded-out character. I don't really mind this. It's gentle enough of a change that it maintains the essence of the original character while giving sort of an interesting flair to the overall design. This bled away over time, and Sonic eventually got universal redesigns down the road, but both of these designs remain iconic in their own right. Now, if the goal is to present a game in a different light for a different audience, you still have to make sure that it's, you know, representative of the game you're trying to sell. Sometimes you just gotta reel that marketing team back in, otherwise you might get something like this. Phalanx was given this just beautiful piece of work overseas in an attempt to make it stand out from the rest of the crowd. And I mean, it worked. Sometimes the change just serves to tarnish a game's legacy, and no game has suffered from this worse than Ico. The Japanese box is a beautiful piece of work, and the North American art is downright disgusting. What were they thinking here? I do understand the notion of this not selling the title to an overseas audience, but was this really any better? I feel if the best defining word for a piece of work is ugly, then it probably isn't gonna sell anywhere. Oh, I know, I take that back. I find it interesting when a cover is changed for seemingly no good reason. Box art that serves its purpose perfectly but gets changed to a piece of art that doesn't really serve any other clear purpose. Scarlet Nexus had its box changed, and for a game that relies heavily on its characters, I find it odd they chose to remove them in favor for what are essentially faceless silhouettes. Tales of Arise features very similar box arts across territories as well, however the Japanese box art is more vibrant alongside being a hand-drawn piece of work. What we got overseas isn't bad, but it feels under-designed in comparison, looks out of place alongside previous Tales of titles. Overall though, in both of these cases, the two pieces are similar enough that it doesn't really serve any other purpose no matter which way you go. Similar deal with Tales of Symphonia, the primary difference here being the art style. The box art outside of Japan going for a style more similar to the anime cutscenes found in-game. However, I just don't like this art. The posing is kinda creepy. I feel like Lloyd's about to crawl at me on all fours and suck on my toes. He also doesn't hold his swords that way in game. Children of Mana has always been a personal favorite of mine, but I was never too crazy on the box art. It feels almost haphazardly put together, 2 pieces of character art shoved on a dull green background. The Japanese and UK box is significantly more interesting. Sure, maybe an obvious case of the toss everybody on the front of the box and call it a day design philosophy, but his perspective is pretty cool, so in the end, I give it a pass. For some reason, this art has always just clicked with me. It feels grand in design and far more engaging than what we got over here in Hillbilly Gun Country, so much so that I bought the game again just to have it. Someone please just close my bank account. Star Ocean: The Second Story has slightly different cover arts for Japan, North America, and PAL territories, and I gotta ask, did the artist have, like, dementia? Dark Cloud 2, or Dark Chronicle, also has 3 pieces of art for the 3 big territories, but the North American box is notably different. Funnily enough, sporting the less angry-looking characters for once. I wonder what the thought process was here, considering that kinda goes against the norm. Like, what was wrong with this template? Is it countercultural, somehow? Is this offensive in Texas? Breath of the Wild got a different cover art for the European release, and while both are beautiful pieces of work, I feel like it fails to capture the sense of grandeur the standard box does so perfectly. I love the colors here, but Link looking back instead of forward kinda throws it all off. Once again though, what different purpose does this piece of art serve? Oh, you wanna know what I find extremely interesting though? Regional boxes. Changes in the packaging across regions, because this just feels so incredibly weird to me. Nintendo DS boxes in North America are reasonably thin and gray, however European boxes are thicker and clear. I find this so strange. There's no tangible reason for them to be thicker, it just means they take up more space on a shelf. The Switch boxes are also clear, but they're clear across the board. However, I do have an import copy of the Grandia HD collection, which uses a different font on the spine. UK PlayStation 2 boxes are blue, and it looks tacky as shit. Whenever a video game box or CD case is colored but not at least partially transparent, it kinda just looks as if it's made from crappy plastic. I even feel this way about the 3DS boxes, maybe to a lesser extent though, since white is kinda classically fashionable. Oh yeah, and we can't forget about the single PS4 game I have that's not only the greatest hits red, but say it with me now, opaque! Anyway, that wasn't the point of this video. The marketing aspect of a box art has more or less fallen to the wayside, since in many cases we can play the game before it's even out through downloadable demos. Games no longer need an eye-catching box to distinguish themselves from the rest of the fluff, but it's an art nonetheless, and something I appreciate more due to its antiquity. And regional box art changes give us that rare bit of insight into the thought process of big gaming companies and what they value and emphasize for a given audience. Hell, I can sit here and bash Dark Cloud's goofy 3D American art all I want. I still own 17 copies of it. And Japan's was no better. Well, it's been a few days and none of my other packages have come, so I guess I can consider that money gone. But not only am I bankrupt, I have no food, no running water, there's a contact stuck in my eye, and you can bet your ass I'm still getting evicted. I need a get-rich-quick scheme. I need to get the creative juices flowing again. Get back on my grind. What can I do to get all of that money back in as short a time as possible? What does the world need? Hello, yes. Is this the stock market? Did somebody order a ham for 2?